another truth of why what you call yourself matters a lot. Because euphemisms, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about telling the truth. Euphemisms are not telling the truth. Euphemisms are the names that we use instead of calling ourselves what we are, atheists. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why that's wrong. Euphemisms hurt the cause. Yes, they do. Atheist, the word atheist, is the broadest and most correct term. It means absence of a belief in a deity. There's nothing shameful or negative in the term, but religion wants you to think there is. No, atheism is not absolute denial of God. Religion wants you to think that it is because it's logically untenable. But that's not what the word means. What the word means is you're absent the belief in a God. Now, if you're absent of belief in a God because you don't care, you're an atheist. If you're absent of a belief in a God because you've studied it hard and come to a conclusion, you're an atheist. If you're absent of belief in a God because you don't know everything in the universe, and nobody can know everything in the universe, so you don't have an active belief in a God, you're an atheist, ladies and gentlemen. It's a broad term. It is the broadest term. It is also the most correct term. Atheist answers the question about religion. This is very important. I treat people nicely does not answer what's your religion. I have a friend, I had a discussion once with a famous humanist that I'm not going to name. He said to me, I call myself a humanist and not an atheist because I don't like to tell people what I'm not. I like to tell people what I am. Well, that's great, except you're not answering the question. Now, my friend Ronnie in the back there, I'm going to use you as an example. Ronnie, for the next 3 or 4 minutes, you're a vegetarian. So Ronnie's a vegetarian, ladies and gentlemen. And if you went up to Ronnie and you said, what kind of meat do you eat? What would you expect him to say? Well, what if he answered with, I like salad? But Ronnie, that wasn't the question. I asked you what kind of meat you eat. Well, I like salad. I don't like to tell people what I don't eat. I like to tell people what I do eat. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a humanist too. I'm a very passionate humanist. I'm a member of humanist organizations. But what is your religion is not answered by I'm a humanist. What is your religion is not about what do you think about treating other people. It's what do you think about God. And you know it's true. When somebody asks you what you are religiously, the answer is not I treat people nicely. The answer is I don't believe in God, I'm an atheist. And the kind of meat you eat, Ronnie, is none, because you're a vegetarian. Anything else would be hiding, right? So let's talk a little bit about hiding, because think about how many people know what the definitions of the words are. And this is a very important point. One of the most important points that I think you're going to hear tonight. Again, what I give you is independent quantitative data from independent sources. Independent quantitative data. I like independent quantitative data. Here's some data for you. Nationwide, 87% of Americans know what an atheist is, essentially. 87% know what an atheist is. 50%, 50, essentially know what an agnostic is. Folks, you should never use the word agnostic as an identifier because you've got at least a 50-50 shot of being considered a theist. Oh, the people listening to you, they have no idea what that means. They'll think you have a 50-50 chance. You give God a 50-50 chance. They assign a value to it. They assign a meaning to it because, again, more than half of, or about half of the population doesn't know what it means. 70% of the population doesn't know what secular means. They think it's a supporter of the separation of church and state. How many of you have ever heard of Openly Secular? You know that organization? They're the ones that supplied this data. Now, Openly Secular had a special day. And in that special day, they said, okay, let's get everybody to say, I'm openly secular. Great. And they defined secular on their website very clearly to mean atheism. They didn't use the right words, they used all the wrong words, but you could see when Openly Secular was talking about it, they were talking about atheists, but they were using the word secular because it's more acceptable. And the tweets were full of such beautiful wisdom as, I'm a Christian and I'm secular. Because 70% of the population doesn't know what it means. That's why it's more acceptable. Because people don't know what it means. And in Fighting God, I actually have a chart where I graph the number of people who know what it means across the acceptability of the terms. And guess what? The more people who know that a term means atheistic, the less acceptable it is. It's very, very linear. You can see it in the book. 11% of the people know what a humanist is. And 12 know what a freethinker is. I'm just going to round out some numbers here. I'm going to use 90 and 10. 90% of this population knows approximately what an atheist is, and 90% doesn't know what a humanist is. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if somebody asks you a question about your religion, and you answer with a term like freethinker or humanist, that has a nearly 90% chance of being misunderstood, are you telling the truth? Are you conveying correct information? No, you're not. You're not only not answering the question, but you're giving an answer that has a 90% chance of not being understood. And if it's not understood, what's assumed? The norm, which is theism. You call yourself a humanist, you've got nearly a 90% chance of being assumed theistic. That's not telling the truth. Now let me ask you a question, ladies and gentlemen. If you were religion, what term would you want the atheists to use to self-identify? The one that was understood by 90% of the population, or the ones that are misunderstood by 90% of the population? Folks, when we hide behind euphemisms, we do nobody any favors except religion. We don't help ourselves, we don't help our country, we don't help defeat the bigotry, we help nothing except religion when we hide. Now, it's important that you understand that what you call yourself affects other people. So many people get so pissed off when I say this, when I say you should call yourself an atheist. They say, don't tell me what to call myself, it's not your business. Ladies and gentlemen, let me make something really clear. It is my business. It is my business what you call yourself, because what you call yourself affects me. It affects everybody else in this room. It affects everybody else in this country. During the George W. Bush presidency, he decided to cut stem cell research. Cutting stem cell research affected all of our livelihoods and all of our our expected enjoyment of life for us and our family, because some guy decided that it was against God's will, and the president said yes. And when he did that, we were officially about 3% of the population. 3% of the population. Ladies and gentlemen, in Fighting God, I crunch a lot of numbers. And some of the numbers I've come up with include a defensible number. It's aggressive, but it's defensible, that we're approximately 26% atheist today. 26% atheist. But our polls show 3% atheist, which translates out into approximately 90% of the atheists in this country don't call themselves atheists. What would George Bush's presidency would have looked like if those atheists had called themselves atheists? If we were a quarter of the population, if the people calling themselves Christians called themselves atheists, who are atheists? Truthfully, the people call themselves Jews, and don't forget the secular humanists and agnostics and this and that and the other thing. If everybody called themselves atheists, who are atheists, we would have a different country, we would have longer lifespans. What you call yourself affects me. What you call yourself affects the entire country. Holding and back and staying silent hurts us because it makes us look insignificant. It makes us look like we don't matter. It gives the religious right all the fuel they need to dismiss us entirely. What you call yourself matters to me. And hopefully it'll matter to you.